From WFRV TV, Local 5, serving Northeast Wisconsin, including Green Bay, Fox Cities, and the Lakeshore. This is Newsmaker Sunday.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us for Newsmaker Sunday. I'm Tom Zalaski. Back in May of 2023, we had a Newsmaker show entitled Ballerina on the Battlefield. That show was about a documentary being filmed about a dancer, a ballerina, bringing humanitarian aid to the people of war-torn Ukraine. And today we are joined by the same two ladies who were on that show. Kelly Peterson to my far right, the aforementioned ballerina dancer Lana Nyland. Lana, good to have you back with us again, too.
It's wonderful to be with you.
Thanks for coming again. Since we last met 2 years ago right here on this very set, what has transpired in both of your lives since then? What has happened with you?
Oh, my goodness. Well, I can tell you that we continue to do amazing things in war-torn communities across the front line. Our team continues to build and to secure its own operations as we go into some pretty spicy areas. And unfortunately, 2 years on, and more than 3 years now into the war, not much has changed.
Still the same.
It's really tough.
Yeah.
Really tough.
Kelly, I know you had a little a political run there since we last met.
Yes, I did. I obviously ran for state senate here in northeastern Wisconsin State Senate too. So I was busy over the summer, last summer, and leading up to the 2024 election. So that took a little time from my documentary, but I am back heavily into the documentary. As a matter of fact, Daryl, one of the photographers, he's from Canada. He was just over in Ukraine back in October, and he had a very scary incident where he was taking the train, and there were some shots at the train. And so I don't know if he will be going back to Ukraine, but he did manage to he's fine, but it was a wake-up call for him. So I don't know if he will be going back to Ukraine, but Lana and I were just talking today about this summer, maybe the summer after a really busy summer last year, that I focus on Ukraine and make it over there.
To refresh our viewers who may or may not have been watching 2 years ago, we were talking about this ballerina on the battlefield, and the obvious question for people watching is, what is this? Ballerina to the battlefield. You're a professional dancer.
I was a professional dancer, yeah.
How did you get to the battlefields of Ukraine from being a ballerina?
Well, I was born in Canada originally, and I went over to Ukraine in 2003 to pursue dance. And it was such an incredible time for me. The first tour I had was to China. The year after I arrived, the Orange Revolution broke out. And then the Euromaidan Revolution of 13-14, which then led us to the full-scale invasion of 2022. And I understood that I needed to be involved somehow, bigger, better, more. And so I ended up giving up my dance shoes for a bulletproof vest,
How did you do that? I mean, you don't just walk in there and say, hi, I'm here with help.
Well, we kind of did.
You did?
We kind of did. I wasn't sure how to go about all of this in February of 2022. And so I just said, you know what, I'm going to start a fund. I know that I can be useful to the people here. And people started putting their hands up all over the world, really. And I had one volunteer come in, and then another couple, and then another 10. And together we kind of put our, sort of ragtag team together. We got ourselves sorted into some vehicles that now make their way across the front lines of Ukraine into communities in dire need.
Okay, now, Kelly, we just mentioned you had made your run for political office a few months ago. In transparency, you were my boss. You were the news director here at Channel 5. How did you and Lana connect? What's your part in this?
So we connected through a mutual colleague, and my interest began, I was in Russia 2 weeks before the full-up invasion happened in 2023. So I became I learned a lot from people in Russia, meaning so that a lot of them have families in Ukraine. They're Ukrainian. And I couldn't understand, why are we're killing our brothers, our sisters, our grandmothers, our children. And it was at that moment where I wanted to do something to help Ukraine. And so I got in touch with Lana. She told me about herself, how she gave up her dance shoes for bulletproof vests. And I thought, your story is one that needs to be told to inspire others and to show what you're doing. I mean, Lana risks her life for others. And some of the things she's been through. I mean, you've had drones, Russian drones follow you. She has stories that, I mean, they echo in history, if you will. And I feel making this documentary will help be a part of that as well.
We have much more to come on some of those stories, the ballerina on the battlefield, when we come back, so please stay right there. Back now this morning with Kelly Peterson and Lana Nyland as we revisit Ballerina on the Battlefield story. We've been talking about this documentary. Tell me about the documentary. You know, when does it come out? What's the name of it? What's it about?
So as of now, it's still titled Ballerina on the Battlefield.
Okay.
You know, that's the thing with documenting a war. There's so much footage. A clip is a story in itself. So I finally had to tell myself, the footage that I'm going to use is what I'm going to use. I'm not going to take any more in. Maybe that'll be a part 2 or part 3. So I plan to have this done. My goal is to have this done by the end of the year. And
when can people see it? Where can people see it?
Well, I'm in the process of selling it. Okay. So TBA. But I will have local screenings here in the Green Bay area. Yeah. We talked about doing something also in Ukraine.
Okay, so stay tuned on that one. When's the last time either of you were in Ukraine?
Oh, I just got out.
Just meaning when?
I was in Washington yesterday, actually. There was the Ukraine Action Summit that was taking place there this week. But just prior to that, I flew out of Poland earlier this week.
When you were there, what was it like? What did you see? What was happening?
You know, Tom, I think it's surreal depending on where you are. In Kyiv, it feels like, if there's no air raid siren, if the skies are clear, it feels like a normal European city. The residents try to get to work, the kids try to get to school. Everybody tries to live and lead a normal life until the air raids go off. And then we know that there's danger in the sky and that something could fall at any moment. But that's in the capital. The frontline communities where there are people who can't or won't leave, we've got medical personnel who are working stabilization points in hospitals. We've got our defenders who are really saving our lives. That's a completely separate reality. And there is constant danger and there is constant tension that today may be the last. We
sat here 2 years ago. Did you think this was still going to be going on?
Never.
2 years later?
No.
Continuing on your experiences, from the political side of things, the Trump administration's Ukraine policy, and I quote some of the things here that have appeared in the news recently. He has spoken with Putin. You had that fiery Oval Office meeting with Zelensky. U.S. went along with Russia against a resolution condemning the aggression, condemning the calling for the nation's occupied territories to be returned. What do you think of all this political jargon that we've been hearing? Because you're there, you're in it.
Yeah, I am. I think it's a bit of a chess game, to be honest. And I think that it's really easy to get caught up in the, and I'll be diplomatic here, in the severe negativity of it all. But that doesn't move us forward. What moves us forward is finding topics or themes on which we agree. And at this moment, what we can agree on with the Trump administration is that there have been a minimum of 19,500 children that have been abducted from Ukraine by Russia, and that there is evangelical Christian faith is being targeted by Russians in Ukraine. Those are 2 topics on which we can agree. And so where we can find common ground, that's really what we should be focusing on. There's lots of things we can't agree on, but there's a couple that we can.
Trump says he wants to end this war peacefully. Do you think that can happen?
Not on Trump's terms, it can't.
No. So you obviously do not trust Trump and his terms to get it done?
I would love to be able to trust the President of the United States of America. I'm not sure that I can say that about the current president.
Zelensky, will he have to give up territory, anything, to get this thing over?
Not if it's on Ukraine's terms.
What will the Ukrainian people accept?
That's a difficult question to answer because we are a country of about 43 million, and the people who are living along the eastern and southern fronts have a very different idea of what peace should look like versus those who live in the west. Those who are in the east deal with tragedy daily. Those who live in the west are subject to it a few times a week, potentially, with air raids. And so what peace looks like for each is very different.
I find it interesting. You said we.
Well, yes, even though I am a Canadian passport holder, I am definitely a Ukrainian at heart.
Ukrainian, yeah. We have much more to come, so please stay right there. We are back now with Kelly Peterson and Lana Nyland talking about the documentary Ballerina on the Battlefield. You know, we're seeing reports of Russia and the drone strikes in Ukraine and the death and the destruction. What's that doing to the people's psyche who have to live there every day and experience this?
I think that in the first year it was exceptionally destructive. And as you understand that this is going to be the reality day in and day out, you become, I won't say numb to it, but you become certainly more resilient. You understand that today might be the last, and so you live a little bit differently. You live as though that might be the reality. I think also that Ukrainians have understood that they are the ones who are responsible for their lives. And so taking into account education, how does one save a life, for example, if you get hit by shrapnel, for example. And so TCCC, Tactical Combat Casualty Care, is something that we are providing, Ukrainian Patriot is providing to civilians, but not only. Learning how to survive, for example, in austere conditions, and ensuring that you've got a certain supply of food for a number of days. These are things maybe we shouldn't have to understand, and yet we also live in a world where anything really, literally can happen at this moment.
The people of Ukraine, are they losing hope, or is their resolve still strong?
I would say that the resolve is strong. The bodies are becoming less strong. People are tired. We're tired. It's been 3+ years now, and yeah, it's starting to show.
At this point, do you think the Ukrainians can win this war?
Yes.
You do?
I do.
Why do you say that?
I think that if the world, and by the world I mean the supporters of Ukraine, where they understand, where the world understands that this is not just Ukraine's fight, that it is an international issue, challenge, problem, that Russia will not stop at Ukraine's border. If Vladimir Putin has the opportunity to continue, he will do so. And while that may not be a problem for the United States based in a completely different continent, it is an issue for Europe and the many countries that are found therein. And Ukraine's problem will soon become Europeans' problems.
Right now, the news cycle is dominated by tariffs. Are you concerned that this is pushing the Ukraine war back to the back pages?
Anything that takes Ukraine off of the center stage, yes, it is a concern, of course. However, nothing is changing in Ukraine. In fact, the challenge today is just as difficult as it was 3 years ago. And so unless Putin decides to pull troops from Ukraine tomorrow, Ukraine will find itself back in the news cycles in a very short amount of time.
When do you go back? Do you have a time period, a plan?
At the end of the month.
At the end of the month?
Yeah.
To specifically do what? What are you going to do when you get there?
We are going to continue sending and bringing light, love, hope, and connection to the people who are in need of it most. And at this moment, that is both my energy, the energy of our amazing volunteers, but also it comes in the form of food bags and hygiene kits and generators and vehicles for our defenders, PPE for our hospital workers. We've become something akin to the group that hugs. No one gets anything without a hug. And so there is an exchange of tangible goods, yes, but there's also an exchange of energy.
How do you maneuver over there? Do you speak the language?
Я розмовляю українською, так.
I'll take it that's a yes. Yeah. Do they know who you are?
Well, the people that we interact with know who we are. Yeah.
Do they know who you are, the ballerina?
Probably not.
No.
No. I look a little bit different in a vest versus, my character shoes.
Yeah. She does.
Would that would shock them?
It probably would. It probably would, yes.
We are back to wrap up with Kelly and Lana right after this, so please join us. We are back now with an update on the Ballerina on the Battlefield documentary, The War in Ukraine, on our Newsmaker Sunday. The U.S.'s apparent dwindling support, military support for Ukraine. Are you at least a little bit pleased with Europe coming to the forefront?
I certainly am.
Yeah.
Yes. This is, I say this often, there's no one person that will lead the charge and or win this war. This is absolutely a team effort, and so that means everybody coming together.
Are there organizations in the United States that are helping you, providing resources, providing money, whatever it is that you need to get over there?
There are within the U.S., of course, within Canada, within Europe. And so it is with thanks to these organizations and these private individuals that we are able to continue our work, yes.
So you're going in and you're bringing people humanitarian aid. How does that stuff get to Ukraine and then to you and then to the people who need it?
So in the early days, we accepted truck after truck after truck of aid that just came over the border. Warehousing was just stacked to the brim, and we were as much a logistics center actually as a delivery service. Yeah. That has slowed, and so now it's a little bit more about raising funds to put towards programming. And so one of the things that we are really active at this moment in is PTSD and psychological assistance to children, women, and defenders. And there's a few different programs that we run. One of which, for example, is includes those three groups who, again, cannot or will not leave the frontline communities, but who are also in need of a respite from the daily stress of living in a war zone. And so where we can spend an hour or 3 hours or a full day in some cases with these different groups, we do dance therapy, we do English language classes, we do art therapy, and allow the kids and the women and the defenders each separately to understand that they do have a place in this world, that they are much stronger than they ever could imagine, and that there are a group of people in Ukrainian Patriot, and not only who love and support them very dearly.
Now, okay, so am I to understand what you're just saying, that the aid, the trucks, has slowed? Is it not as much as it used to be?
That's right, yeah. So
Why?
It makes it tough.
Are we forgetting about this?
You know, I think we live in a world where attention is so precious, and as you suggest, the news cycles demonstrate that tariffs are important at the moment, and previously it was the war in Israel with Palestine. And Ukraine sometimes takes a backseat to some of these issues, no less important, but nonetheless less of a spotlight. And as such, we don't become the focus, unfortunately.
When you're over there and you're looking around, I mean, are kids going to school? Are people going to work? I mean, are there places to work, or is it all demolished?
Frontline communities, it's a little bit more difficult. Kids are going to school online, if that's an option, if there is electricity to allow that. Yeah. People are out of work in frontline communities, and that is a very big difficulty for so many. And this is where organizations like Ukrainian Patriot come in. We fill the gap where it's difficult for so many. In Kyiv and other cities that are further west, life tries to continue, but again, as soon as the skies start to become a little bit more busy, air raid sirens ring, businesses shut down until the skies become clear again, and it's almost like there's a pause on the world, because the world must stop for the safety of its citizens.
What would life for them be like without you and your efforts?
You know, I can't say that we can save everybody, but what I can do is make the lives of everyone that we touch a little bit easier for the time that we're with them.
There are people watching this program who are thinking, I'd love to help. I can't help like Lana helps, but I'd like to help. How do they do that? They
can find us at ukrainianpatriot.org, and from there you can find our socials. We're in Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, all of those good places. And you can watch and join us actually in our efforts to help the people of Ukraine and help them make the world a little bit of a better place to live.
And what are you looking for mainly? Are you looking for cash? You're looking for money?
I mean, cash works, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Tangible goods are also always appreciated, and you know, free hands are definitely a great commodity also.
What message do you need to give to people watching this program?
There is no difficulty so great that you can't solve it. We live in a chaotic world at this moment, but there is light, love, hope, and connection that unites us all. And if we can keep that at the fore, then there's nothing so great we can't solve.
The ballerina sounds like a diplomat.
I love it.
Yes. Kelly, Lana, thanks.
Thank you
so very much for coming back, joining us. And if you have a newsmaker in your town who you think we should have on this program, let us know about it. Send us an email to tips@wearegreenbay.com, or you can message us on Facebook. And be sure to join us once again, 7:30 Sunday morning. Until then, have a great day.